All right, welcome to part two of the play-in basketball special featuring the Western Conference play-in this time. Got some different people here with me. Ming was not able to make it. I had a good conversation with him yesterday about the Eastern play-in, but today I've got Anthony with me
Oh, what's good? Go Warriors.
and our boy Dsun.
Hello, hello.
So we'll go ahead and get started talking about the Lakers Timberwolves play-in. Do you guys have any initial thoughts on that game, things that stick out?
I mean, well, the obvious one is the Rudy Gobert fiasco that went on
Yeah.
last night. Um, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the chemistry with this team seems really bad. Plus, they just lost Aiden McDaniels. Like, there's another clip of like Al Anderson saying something about how like the org lets go Gobert get away with stuff like this. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Like, those are all red flags to me. So I feel like Lakers kind of have a cakewalk. Like they're already the seventh seed. They got home court advantage during the playing game, so yeah, I feel like they're looking really good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's an unfortunate spot for the Timberwolves because they generally play the Lakers pretty decently when they have everybody. And I think McDaniels is a pretty big part of that from what I've seen. Gobert is like obviously a pretty big part of that as well, but not I feel like he's not as impactful to the outcome of those games as McDaniels was from what I remember. So I feel like that loss is even bigger considering he'll be out for not only just this one game, but probably multiple games afterwards if they are to advance. So definitely a tough draw for them. What do you think about the matchup, David?
So the Wolves are screwed.
Yeah,
I think if Gobert's out, I think it's like not too crazy, but I think the Warrior killer Nas Reed, that guy being injured is actually like
yeah, that's true.
based on what I've seen for this matchup, like whenever AD like has to try to guard like Nas Reed, that guy just gets pulled all the way to the perimeter and then just get dunked on every single time.
Yeah, no, I mean it hurts for them because they have to bring not only two bench players into their starting rotation, but they're missing their sixth man, their usual guy, who they might bring in first off the bench. So their depth is severely limited. They're gonna have to start Kyle Anderson, who who got punched into the starting lineup, and then also probably Torian Prince.
Oh yeah, that guy's
Yeah.
he dropped how many points did he drop that one game?
I think against the Knicks, he shot like perfect from the field. He made like eight threes.
He dropped
Um,
35 points. If he does that again against tomorrow, then one of our friends, our boy KZ, might retire from watching basketball for the rest of his life.
yeah, I mean that's highly unlikely, but I feel like they need some sort of miracle like that to win this game. It feels like, or they need Anthony Edwards to just be absolutely absurd, which I feel like he has the potential to do. Like we saw in that final game of the season against the Pelicans, he had some rough stretches with shot selection and turnovers, but there were times when he just took over the game on both ends of the court, which we know he can do, but it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, I feel like unless there's some like absurd absurd like overplay by like Anthony Edwards or like Cat, like I feel like there's really no way for the Lakers to lose this one. Like they have like their full roster, they're like finally healthy. Plus like I feel like LeBron is like kind of peaking right now, like ready to turn it on. So is AD. So yeah, I feel like if the Lakers lose this one, it'll just be like a flat out choke. Like they have no
Yeah.
business losing that game.
Yeah, just head to head in terms of the talent, they're way ahead. And they also have home court advantage.
Exactly, yeah.
And they have Mobamba.
That's true. They have mobile. They have Tristan Thompson.
Oh yeah, he
Well,
just got signed, right?
yeah, they signed him and one other dude, well, a guard. I forget who it was. Shaq Harrison, maybe?
Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay. Wait, that's so
I,
weird because I literally saw Tristan Thompson on ESPN like 3 weeks ago.
yeah, I kind of just assumed that he was like his career was over and that he
Yeah,
was
I
like
thought he was like
38 years old or something, but he's like only 32.
yeah.
Yeah, Shaquille Harrison. He's a 29-year-old
Yeah.
old guard.
Yeah, I think he used to be on the Bulls from what I remember. He probably won't play very much. I doubt Tristan Thompson will play that much either, unless there's a major injury, which I guess is what they're preparing for. But it's funny that that guy's back on LeBron's team. I did hear I heard like some rumor. I forget who I saw this from. It was from like a relatively reputable source on Twitter that the Lakers were gonna sign Carmelo. Um,
Oh wait, that would be so crazy.
yeah, I don't know actually how seriously I was supposed to take that report, but obviously it ended up being not true. So
Hmm. I
True.
mean, why not
unfortunate.
though at this point? Like you don't really even need to play him that much, right? Even if you
Yeah,
sign.
he probably wouldn't play at all,
Yeah,
unless something happens to like LeBron.
yeah.
But
Actually,
I guess, yeah, I don't know. In that case, it would be doomed anyway. But you know,
yeah. How much money would you guys bet for Lakers over Timberwolves?
I mean, like, what how much money would I be comfortable betting?
Yeah, I'm trying to gauge like how
Mm,
certain you feel the Lakers are gonna win.
okay, yeah. I mean, the way that Ming and I did it, we just gave like a percentage of what we thought like this team has a so and so percentage chance of winning the game.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess if we want to roll with the money, I'm not a very rich man, but I would bet $100 on the Lakers.
Okay.
I'm not much of a gambling man, so I feel like I don't really have like a number in my head.
All right.
Um,
Let's just go percentage then. I say this is
hmm,
like in my mind, this is like 95%.
Yeah, for me, I would say it's around 90%.
damn, that's you guys are.
I think the
Hmm.
10%, okay, maybe 85%. I think there's like a 10% chance that like Anthony Edwards takes over the game, that AD is ineffective, maybe he settles for too many jumpers. LeBron doesn't get foul calls, stuff like that could happen.
I think
Um,
there's like a 5% chance LeBron gets like the flu before this game.
yeah, I mean, like there's also yeah, there's a small chance that just like their players get hurt during the game or something.
Yeah.
Some fluke happens.
Yeah.
But I think like head to head, the Lakers would beat the Timberwolves at least like 8 times out of 10 if they played 10 times in a row.
Hmm, it's really tough for me to say. I feel like I'm trying to look at this like Timberwolves roster. I'm trying to in my head I'm trying to like formulate like the only way that like the Timberwolves win. Um, and I guess I'm like biased because I only watched one game when the Timberwolves just like did not miss from three, and then AD was just not in the paint to like block any shots. Um, trying to think of like a scenario when did Cat
Yeah,
drop 50 and Anthony Edwards also dropped 50 and then his win.
Yeah.
yeah.
That
I
is
mean
that's the actual scenario.
in the last game they played against each other, I feel they like the Timberwolves were in control for a lot of the game. They went up, I want to say like 15 points in the third quarter, and then AD got hurt, quote unquote hurt. He's like fell on the ground holding his ankle. And then during that period where he was on the ground, the Lakers like cut the lead to like 8 or 6, and then they just went on to win the game by like 15 points. Um, that game was really weird, but from watching that game, I felt like at least in the start of the game, McDaniels had a huge impact because he was guarding LeBron and he was also being guarded by LeBron, which I feel like is an important it's an important role to have where you can't just hide LeBron on some non-shooter, non-offensive player who's not going to make him do anything on defense. And he was making LeBron work. He was making some threes, driving to the hoop. I feel like Torian Prince, Kyle Anderson, those are players that you could hide LeBron on, make him not have to do that much work on defense, and they'll probably be okay. So I feel like that's the biggest thing that was missing between this game and that game that I saw.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
yeah
agree with that.
Timberwolves don't have their best defender, so kind of
Yeah,
rigged.
he's definitely their best defender as well. Yeah, so what percent would you give it then, David?
I think I'm a little more generous. I feel like maybe like 80%.
80%.
The only reason why like I say that is because I honestly like Cat he hasn't been back for for that long. Um, and then he is the self-proclaimed best shooting big man of all time.
Yeah.
So if he somehow just he has to drop 50 and Anna has to drop 50, but um, yeah, I don't think I've seen because Cat's been injured this whole season, like without Gobert. Um, so I'm wondering like if he actually touches the ball more, if he's gonna score more. Um, But then I don't know. Looking at this like Lakers team, it's very possible Cat plays 10 minutes and has 5 fouls, and then it just like
Yeah, I was gonna bring up what we saw last year in the play-in, which is one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a star, quote unquote, star player by Karl Anthony Towns, where he basically was just not allowed to play the game because he would foul every time he was playing defense, and also was forcing the issue on offense and getting offensive fouls. That game was absolutely horrendous, and they only were able to win that because of Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I think historically, from what I've seen, like Cat's not the type of player to really like turn it up when the moment gets bigger. So
mhm.
I'm not confident in him like having some like super clutch, like insane performance in the playing game. Like I feel like he's either just gonna go his average or he's gonna like shrink.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I mean it could be a good matchup for him. Like all he has to do really is sit on the perimeter and shoot threes. But all in all, I think it's up to Edwards to sort of create the opportunities.
Yeah. Actually, hearing you guys talk about it, I think my mind has been changed too. Like I think about actually, I'm remembering like a quote from like Anthony Edwards at the very beginning of the season, why he's like people were like flaming him because his dunk numbers were down.
Hmm.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but
Yeah, I remember he had like zero dunks like
Mm.
15 games in the season or something.
yeah, and then he said something about like basically it's like hard to dunk when basically he was just referring to Rudy Gobert as like cannot shoot, and then he's like hard for him to get an open lane and get a dunk. Um, so I'm wondering, yeah, if you're probably right, it's probably not going to be Cat that leads this team to like pop off and like do something, but if he can, yeah, stretch the floor and then Anthony Edwards can get some dunks, as he says, then I guess he might actually have to drop 60 and then they're going to win.
Yeah, he's gonna have to go insane, which I think would be sick to see, but pretty unlikely.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
actually, yeah. Yeah, maybe I take my percentage back. Maybe I like tip it more in favor of the Lakers now. I said 80 earlier, but maybe closer to like 85, 90 now that I'm talking more about
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm putting an exact number on it, I would go like 83% for the Lakers.
I would go like I said 95 before, I go like 92, 93.
Okay.
Sheesh.
If the Lakers were the Celtics or Warriors though, I would say like 98%. And I would bet $1,000 on it.
But yeah, also like I thought about like, okay, do Lakers want to intentionally lose this game to try to get a better matchup? But I feel like,
No, I think
yeah,
they'd
they
much
want to
rather play
play
Memphis.
Grizzlies over Nuggets. They want to avoid the Suns.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Even just looking at the 1 versus 2 seed, I feel like Memphis is a lot weaker
Yeah,
than Denver,
yeah,
especially since now we know Steven Adams is going to be out for the year.
damn.
It's that's that's going to be tough. Whoever plays Memphis is going to have a decent shot of winning that series, I think. It's probably going to be Lakers though.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
I made my play in or not play in. I got an email from NBA telling me to make a bracket.
Oh, wait, I got
Oh,
it.
for
I
the
could probably talk about
playoffs.
them in the playoffs.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we'll have a playoffs prediction pod later on once
You're
the
right. You're right.
playoffs are actually set. But yeah, we'll just stick to the play-in for now. So we've
You're
all
right.
got the
You're
Lakers
Hmm.
with pretty high confidence, unfortunately.
right.
Anything else you guys want to add about that matchup? I feel like we covered most of the bases, but we didn't talk about the Lakers very much
Yeah. Um,
because they're just the better team.
yeah, not
But
really much to
there's a
add.
lot to say
Yeah.
about them as a team, I think. But you know,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Lakers, I mean, obviously at the deadline, they elevated their roster like a ton. But at the same time, I feel like randomly they have players that are overperforming. Like Austin Reeves, for example, is like balling out. So I feel like everything is kind of going right for them. They're playing like really good defense right now, and then LeBron's back too. So I think they're actually like really scary. Like I didn't believe in them at all like earlier this year. But I think right now, like if I had to choose teams coming out of the West, like they're in my they're in my top four, I think,
yeah,
which is
I
crazy to
think
say.
I think I might agree with you on that. I mean, I was about as down as anybody could be on the Lakers at certain points in the season, like when they were what 2-10 to start the season, something really bad.
Yeah, they were like 13
Um,
seed at some point.
yeah, I mean they were the 13 seed pretty recently. I
Yeah,
feel like not even that long ago.
That's
Um,
true.
but but yeah, I don't know. I think the main concern, I guess, is just the health of LeBron. How much can the LeBron James of feet help him out? You
That's
know,
true.
because his
yeah,
foot is still an issue.
yeah,
Um, he hasn't looked exactly the same since coming back. He had a good games against Utah, but you know that was against Simone Fontecchio and Luka Samanic, not really like actual players. So um,
yeah. It'll be
not
really
sure how much you can
interesting.
take away from that.
Yeah, like he has to go through a playing game, and like let's say the Grizzlies series goes like 7 or something for whatever reason. Like I don't know. Like I don't know if I mean history will say like LeBron is gonna like perform like super well, but this might be the first year where it like kind of gets to him.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen LeBron underperform in a playoff setting in a while.
Yeah,
So this might be the one time we could see it because he's getting older, he's banged up, and obviously they're also not going to have home court advantage in pretty much any matchup.
yeah.
Yeah, anything to add on the Lakers, David? I know you had a bold prediction about the Lakers.
I had a bold prediction before the trade deadline that the
Yeah,
Lakers were not going to make the play-ins at all. So, I
yeah.
the
I mean,
teams that I had,
not too unreasonable of a take
Yeah.
before the trade deadline.
yeah, the teams that I had above the Lakers, I definitely thought the Mavs were going to make it at the time. I thought the Jazz were going to make it as well. And I think that yeah, probably thought the Lakers were going to get 11th seed and then just be screwed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean
But
that would have been funny, but unfortunately, their GM started doing his job.
By GM, do you mean Le GM?
No, not the GM, the actual GM, Rob Pelinka.
That's true. Traded for Mo Bamba, and
Yeah, I mean he did get rid of the reigning play-in champion Pat Bev though.
that's true.
So I don't know. I had to think. Pat Bev made me think long and hard about the East play-in because he's the undisputed champion of the
Yeah,
play-in.
that's true. Wait, what did you guys say about that? I actually didn't catch the pod.
Oh, I think we both agreed that Miami was gonna win.
Okay.
And then I think we both thought that Toronto was gonna win actually, but we both thought it was gonna be close.
Okay.
And then I thought Atlanta would make it, and Ming thought that Toronto would win.
Okay. My pick is
Mm.
Toronto. The Heat and
Okay,
Toronto.
okay,
Yeah, I also think Heat and Toronto just
yeah,
because I think I'm biased because I think Trae Young's a bum.
yeah. No, I tried to put aside my bias, but I did say I feel like Miami has like an 80% chance to win that first game. Even though like their records are pretty close and the teams seem
Yeah.
maybe pretty close, I just feel like after what I saw last year in the playoffs,
But Jimmy Butler is
I
just clutch.
yeah, he's just a better performer in the clutch, and they just completely shut down Trae Young last
Yeah.
year. But yeah, we won't really talk too much about East playing right now, but it's good to get your guys' thoughts.
Yeah. So the other game, Pelicans Thunder. What do you guys?
Yeah, let's move on to Pelicans Thunder, which is an interesting matchup. Uh, I feel like a lot of people, all of us included, obviously, none of us had OKC making the playoffs.
Hmm.
A lot of people were sleeping on OKC this whole season, even up till the very end, but they somehow squeaked into the play-in, mostly because the Mavericks just decided to give up for some reason.
No
But
reason.
it's an interesting game. They're definitely the underdogs in my opinion, but they probably have the best player in the game, despite not really having a center on their roster. Um, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about that game initially?
I mean, first thing I'm
Mm.
thinking about is like Zion is probably not going to be playing, right, for the Pelicans.
Yeah, he's definitely not playing. He might not even be back in the first round,
Oh
according to
man.
some reports.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Pelicans roster better. Um, I think Brandon Ingram lately has been really turning it up. And I like I like the squad they have around him. They just have like a bunch of like long players who can shoot. They have like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. I like the Pelicans roster construction for sure. Um, I think though, like as you said, like just because like Shea has been such a crazy offensive player this season, like he could have like a monster game and upset them. Like Pelicans aren't like that good of a team where they can't be like upset by like just a crazy pop off game from Shea. So I'd give it like maybe like 60-40, like slight edge to the Pelicans. I could see the
Okay.
Thunder like actually upsetting them.
Yeah, I mean the most recent game we saw from the Pelicans, not to be too recency biased, but we saw them still somehow manage to lose that game to the Timberwolves, despite all of the hijinks going on the other side,
Mm.
with them literally sending home one of their players and another player punching the wall and not being able to play the second half. They still somehow managed to lose that game with Brandon Ingram scoring 40 points.
Yeah.
It feels to me like they're a little bit they're not very good in the clutch, especially in that game. Ingram has been good in the clutch, but it feels like sometimes they're a little bit, not always on the same page, not the greatest of execution. So there's definitely a chance in my mind that they lose, but I do agree. I think they should be the
Yeah,
favorites.
it's for me it's more of just like on paper, like who do I think has like the more talented team? Like definitely leaning towards the Pelicans. But yeah, I do agree they've been slumping.
Yeah, and it is just a one game ordeal.
Yeah.
So anything could really happen. And OKC is a scrappy bunch. They're going to want to win. They're going to play really hard. They have a lot of sort of streaky shooters that could get hot. It'll be an interesting matchup. Who you got, David?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I can't think of like a certain percentage like off the top of my head, but I for some reason in my head I just like can't see how the Pelicans lose. And I'm like very like I'm thinking about the Thunder's like win condition and like in the games that like Shea like he's what is he averaging like 30 low 30s like points per game.
Yeah, like 31, 32-ish.
Something like that. But he's also averaging like how many free throws a game? Like a little like around 10 or something
Yeah, a
crazy.
lot of free throws. And he's shooting 90%.
Yeah. So maybe I am a little biased towards Pelican players because they have these really long wings, like some actual long arm hackers that are really really good at defense. Um, like our guy Herbert Jones and Trey Murphy. Um, yeah, I actually didn't watch that game where, where they played it, like they just like still lost. Like what they played, was it yesterday?
It's 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Or
Yeah,
no, it was yesterday. It was yesterday.
yeah, so I
Feels
didn't
like
watch
two
that
days.
game, so I don't have the recency bias thinking about that game, but I just like see like um the only person that I feel like is like I feel like might get clapped by the Thunder is probably Jonas Valanciunas because that guy is actually kind of a bot on defense, and then he might get 5,000 2 minutes. And he's like the perfect kind of player to get cheesed by Shea and give him a bunch of free throws. But I'm just like based on like when even when the Pelicans played against like the Warriors or like someone like they when they camp on like certain players like with like Herb Jones and like Trey Murphy, like I really wonder like how Shea is gonna do because like I really see like not some of these other guys in the Thunder like not very big scoring threats. Like I see like part of their starting roster like they have like Lou Dort, um, Josh Giddey like is not really a scorer in my opinion. Yeah, then Jay Will, their big man, like yeah, he can like shoot, but I feel like that guy is like not super great either, like not much of a threat on offense either. Um, yeah, I'm just like thinking of the way that the Thunder can win this game. Like I just think that these like they have so many like non-shooting threats on their team, and I have yeah maybe I have a very big bias towards these like really really strong long arm defenders that based on their defense schemes they camp on people's like best players like by the way that they guarded Steph. I'm just like wondering if they give Shea the same treatment. I wonder if he's not going to get as many like free throws, and I think if he's not getting as many free throws, I don't know if it's even possible for the Thunder to win unless the other people just like randomly turn up and like like Ludor drops like 30 or something, or like J-Dub like randomly will drop like 30. That's just my thought. Like I feel like Shea's just gonna get camped by these guys, and then he's not. Like I wonder if he doesn't get those calls. Like I don't know if he's gonna be able to lead his team to a victory tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I do think that I probably think a little bit more highly of someone like Josh Giddey as a scoring threat. He's not a great shooter necessarily, like spot up shooter, but he is like a threat to drive to the hoop. Um, and I think while the like Lou Dort obviously is not going to be a real threat in half the games he plays from outside, they do have a lot of shooters coming off the bench that they can bring in, like an Isaiah Joe or an Aaron Wiggins. These types of guys are above average shooters for sure. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I think like no matter how lopsided you think the matchup is, I think because it's only one game and they have the best player in the game, there's always a chance for them to win. In
Yep.
from my perspective, I do think though that an underrated aspect of this game is that again OKC has no player on their roster above 6'9". Josh Giddey is their leading rebounder. So a player like Valanciunas could have a huge impact in this game because he's just by far the biggest person on the court at
Mhm.
all times. He could, like you said, get into foul trouble and get picked on the perimeter, but he could also just grab every offensive rebound and put up like 20 points and 10 rebounds by the half.
That's also true. Yeah.
Because OKC is this season they've gotten completely feasted on by teams like the Lakers, teams with big men that they can't guard, just because they have no centers. So that's an another wrinkle, I guess, to take into account. Although, even though I've been saying this whole time, I feel like SGA is the best player in the series or in the game. I do think Brandon Ingram, he's been there. He has experience being that number one guy in the playoffs. And we've seen like Ant said, he's been playing really amazingly lately. He could just be the best player in this game and take over the game and shut it down completely. So
Yeah, I wonder if like Shea, obviously the regular season has been crazy. We've never seen him in like playoffs. We've never, or I'm not sure if he made the playoffs with like the Clippers or something, but like we
I
never.
think he was yeah, he played a couple playoff games with the Clippers and also with that CP3 OKC team, I think.
Yeah, so we've never seen him like kind of leading a team in the playoffs and like being at the top of his game, like in these like clutch moments. So I think that'll be really interesting to see, like if he does like pull it out. That's kind of like a stamp of approval, you know. Like a lot of people will have like great regular seasons, but like people want you to be able to like continue that play going into like the most important games. So that'll be really interesting to see just as a fan, like affects like how we view him as a player, like how he actually like performs this year in
Yeah.
like the play-in tournament.
I mean, I have the utmost faith that he'll perform. I think there's an outside chance that he'll score like 40 points, 50 points. Um, and I feel like his team needs him to do that for them to even have a chance of winning. So he's gonna go out there looking to be really aggressive.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I have almost no doubt in my mind that he'll play at least a decent game.
yeah, yeah,
But again, Ingram has that same potential to put up 40. Um, and just other than those two players, if we just remove those two guys from the equation, then like we've been saying this whole time, Pelicans are just more talented. They have a more well-constructed roster. We didn't even mention CJ McCollum.
yeah.
Um, they just have more threats overall. See, I
Yeah.
think did you give it a percent already, Ant? You
I
said
said 60-40.
60%. Yeah, I think I'm leaning a little bit harder on the Pelicans. I would put it at like 65% for the Pelicans to win.
Hmm. David?
And then, yeah, I think I realized I never gave my number. Um, yeah, I'm thinking somewhere like actually like higher, like more like 75,
Hmm.
80% on the Pelicans over the Thunder. Um, yeah, those are just my
Yeah,
thoughts. Like
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
that's
Yeah.
unreasonable.
yeah,
No, no disagreements so far for our picks.
yeah, I'm also gonna go one step further. I think that the guy of that game is definitely gonna be like I realized like I don't know like we didn't talk about CJ that much, but I think like I think Brandon Ingram, he's probably gonna have a really good game, and I actually think like somebody like Trey Murphy is probably also gonna have a really good game because this guy like at least like recently like
So
I
good.
didn't know much about this guy until this season, to be honest, like about at least his shooting. Like I knew him as a good defender like last year.
I mean,
I just,
this is only his second year, so
yeah, so yeah,
he's
his rookie season, yeah, I just only knew he was like he had a lot of length and a lot of height for a guy who plays shooting guard, and that's kind of all I knew. Like I didn't know much about his shooting, but like this guy has had games where he's dropped more than 30 points. Like I think he even might have had
he
a
had a
40 point.
40 he had a 41 point game, I think, 42.
Yeah, so like this guy, like aside from him, like seeing this guy like get like getting his name out there from the dunk contest, like this guy actually his shooting has really surprised me because I didn't know much about him besides being a good defender last year. Um, so I think the two guys to really watch, like in my opinion, is probably like I wonder if like Trey Murphy might have like a monster game too. Um, and with Valanciunas, like I just like thinking about that guy, like the size thing could definitely like he might feast on OKC, but then I don't think there's an in between. He might just get run off the court and play 10 minutes, or he might play I don't know like mid 20s and like grab like 20
Yeah.
rebounds.
I think even if
But
he does like dominate the game, he probably won't play that much. It's
yeah,
very weird.
so honestly, I think that guy is. I'm not very high on that guy. I actually don't think he's gonna have a very good game tomorrow, even if he's big and he actually is a really good defensive rebounder at the very least. Um, but yeah, I kind of feel like Trey Murphy might have a really big game tomorrow. I know we've been talking about BI a lot, but um, yeah, that's my prediction for tomorrow. I think this guy actually might shoot the lights out.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been lights out lately. And I'm with you on him sort of coming up out of nowhere, but I do remember, I think it was the elimination game last year against Phoenix, where he played like 20 minutes, I want to say, maybe a little bit less than that. But I remember I think he made like 4 or 5 threes in that game, and I thought to myself like this guy could be a pretty valuable piece in the future. I didn't think it would be this soon that he'd be putting up 40 points in a game, but
Yeah.
uh, but I mean, yeah, ever since he came out of college, he's been billed as a sort of 3 and D guy, and he's kind of already surpassed that um, in terms of what he's able to do beyond just shooting threes and playing defense. He's
Mhm.
obviously incredibly athletic, as we saw in the dunk contest. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he could have a big game. I think J Dub is going to be important again to alleviate some pressure off of SGA. So
Mhm.
if they want to win, he's going to have to put up 25 points on good efficiency, be aggressive. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel I agree with you also on Valanciunas. I think there's no in between for that guy. There never has been. He's either plays 10 minutes or he plays 30 minutes and does very well. So
Yep.
um, yeah,
Yeah, dude, Pelicans need Zion back ASAP because
yeah, that team is so different
yeah,
without Zion.
their roster right now actually like looks not bad without Zion. Like if you add
Yeah,
Zion to the mix and they play the Nuggets the first round, like bro, that
yeah, they have a chance of winning.
yeah, exactly. That series would be crazy.
Yeah, I mean they were the 1 seed at a certain point with Zion without Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
So this team has a very high ceiling with Zion, but again, he's just never been able to be on the court consistently. Um, and I'm looking at some playoff stats for Valanciunas because I had this weird sort of faint memory in my mind that he had a really good game last year in the playoffs, or like multiple good games. And the first game against Phoenix, even though he shot 7 for 21 from the field, he had 25 rebounds in that game.
Oh man.
Crazy.
13 of which were offensive. So part of that could just be the DeAndre Ayton effect, where that guy is just being lazy and just getting beasted on. But I don't know, maybe Valanciunas is the kind of guy who turns it up in big games. So we'll see.
All right.
Any
So
sort of last thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, this one thing I realized I forgot to say is another reason why I'm skewing it so heavily towards the Pelicans is because this Thunder team is very young, and
They are, yeah.
I just think that in big moments, like especially like play in is a pretty big thing, like for like a young guy. Um, I don't really know how like some of these guys are like below 20 years old on this roster. I think J Dub is like only 19 years old, unless he had his birthday. Oh wait, no, wait, one of those who was like super young on their team. Actually, he's not 20. He's 21. So
I
I'm
think
trying.
I think Osman Dieng is like 19.
Okay, yeah, just kidding. I was thinking of the wrong guy. But yeah, they're all pretty young. So like if they're okay, they're above 20 years old. Never mind. They're like around like they.
Well, yeah, J Dub played 2 years in college, so
I see. I see. I just assumed he might have been under 20 because he was.
Osman Dieng is 19.
Yeah. Okay, that guy's
He does
actually.
play he does play minutes for them.
Wait,
He probably will play at least a little bit.
is he related to Gorgie Dieng?
No,
I
he's
don't
from
think
He's from Australia.
this guy also is. I don't think they look anything alike.
I mean, they might be the same height or around the same height, but they
Well, to
don't
be
look
fair,
similar
I
at all.
do not know what that man looks like, so
All
I just did it based off last name.
right, well, you might see him in the game. He scored 22 points against the Grizzlies.
That is true. He played 45 minutes. But yeah, the thing that I wanted to say, yeah, with the age thing, like I think play in slash like playoffs can be very scary for a young guy who's never been there before.
Could be,
And
yeah. I don't think SGA will be scared. I don't think J-Dub will be scared, but some of these other guys might underperform.
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
and
scared is not the right word, but it's just like nerves, so they like can't they don't like
Yeah, it's just something they're not used to.
yeah.
yeah,
Can throw them
and
off their game.
for that reason, like a lot of these, like they have some streaky shooters off the bench. Like both I know that we think highly of Isaiah Joe's shooting, especially like this guy can really shoot. Like
Yeah,
if
for sure.
OKC wants to win, like they I feel like they have to like shoot very very well against
Yep.
this team, and I think that because they're young and they're streaky, which is like a pretty interesting combo for a pretty high pressure game like this. I wonder if that's gonna their lack of experience in this kind of setting is going to like in my opinion, I think it's gonna actually really negatively um go negatively for them. So that's why I think that for me, like I hold the Pelicans a little higher than I feel like most people would for this game because of how young OKC is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's sort of the general take that a lot of people have on these kinds of games is like young teams will often underperform. They're not ready. They haven't been there before. So they don't know what it's like. But also, I feel like this OKC team kind of has that air of like they don't really care. They're kind of just going to go in and do whatever they want. They already have exceeded expectations by far. So
Yeah. It's like
for me, I
underdog.
feel like that, yeah, the underdog mentality sort of offsets any amount of nerves that they could have. That being said, I do think the matchup is very heavily or relatively heavily Pelicans favored just looking at the matchup. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
for me, that sort of outweighs that sort of possibility. And also I feel like the Pelicans have a little bit more to prove in that they've been in the playoffs. They were in the playoffs last year. They probably feel like they should make it again. They might feel a little bit of frustration if the game's not going their way. So it could go that way as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
All right. Oh yeah, I just wanted to ask Ant, do you have any players to watch out for in this game
Players to watch out for in what way?
that you
Like,
think could have a big game or that you think could underperform heavily? Either one.
okay, I think we talked about BI for Pelicans, SGA. Um, I think for the Thunder, I think Josh Giddey is gonna have a big game.
Hmm.
I think Pelicans. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna pick for Pels, Brandon Ingram and Jonas Valanciunas
Okay.
for big games, and then for Thunder, I'm gonna say SGA and Josh Giddey.
All right. All right. Just wondering because I
Underperform.
think.
I feel like CJ might break a few shots, but I don't know. That's a good feeling.
Okay, that's tough. All right. Let's move on then. Since we've gone over those two potential matchups, let's say because we all had the same picks. Let's say things go as we planned. The Lakers defeat the Timberwolves and the Pelicans take out OKC. That means that the final game for the 8th seed would be Minnesota versus New Orleans, which you just saw yesterday. So it'd be a rematch of that game without Jaden McDaniels likely, and possibly with Rudy Gobert since he only got suspended for one game, it seems like. Just some. Do you guys have any like just baseline thoughts on that game? We don't have to go too in depth on it because it might not even happen, but it's an interesting matchup if it does happen, and it feels pretty likely to occur.
I'm gonna just go ahead and pick the Pels. Um,
Oh, okay.
so I know that there was that game where Pelicans lost even after like the punch happened. Um, but I just feel like the Wolves are imploding, and every day that goes by is just more stress in their locker room. I don't think obviously it seems like the players don't like each other, and I think eventually when it comes to like this high stress atmosphere of the playoffs, not gonna work. I don't think they're gonna play for each other. I don't think they're gonna really like turn it up. Um, and I think the Pelicans have like this extra motivation to play for this game because like if I were on the Pelicans right now, I'd just be like just like hold the fort until Zion comes back. Like if I start the series against the Nuggets and we're down like 3-1, right? And then Zion comes back, like we have a chance to like
Yeah,
yeah, come back, right? So like
that's a good point.
yeah, so I think Pelicans have like a lot more motivation while Wolves like, I don't know what's going on in Kyle Anderson's head right now. Like he's probably like hella pissed off. So I don't know. Like
Yeah, that whole exchange was very strange. It was like I don't know if you guys saw the Woj tweet, but he added a lot of context that was that honestly I thought it was a fake tweet. He was saying like Rudy Gobert was upset because he was like playing while he was injured, and he told Kyle Anderson to like grab some rebounds or something. I don't even know.
oh, really, I thought okay, I mean
Because
I
Kyle
didn't watch the
Anderson,
game, but I thought it
I think
was
Kyle Anderson told him to like he said like yo block some shots or something, and then Rudy Gobert's his comeback was well why don't you grab some rebounds then?
Wait, I thought I lip read Kyle Anderson saying like the B word and then that
Oh yeah, he did call him. Yeah,
okay.
that's oh, that was also in Woj's tweet. He didn't even censor it in the tweet. He just
Woj built it.
yeah, that was a crazy Woj tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that you brought up that point of like the Pelicans kind of just needing to weather the storm until Zion can come back because even though we don't know when he might come back, there's still a possibility that he could come back in the first round. Um,
Yeah.
and so they have more to play for in terms of how far they could potentially go in the playoffs and how good their team could look with everyone on it. But yeah, I don't know. I think my heart wants to go with the Timberwolves here just because I like the team.
Mm.
I like Anthony Edwards a lot, and he had an insane performance yesterday in that game. Like his defense was actually absurd at certain points. Like he had just an uber athletic block on CJ, and then he proceeded to run down on the other side of the court and turn it over. But um, he had like a near 5-by-5 game. I think he had 4 steals and 4 blocks. Um, also like 7 turnovers, but it feels like he's the kind of player who could take over this kind of game, like we said with the Lakers game. This game, obviously, I feel like the Pelicans, like we talked about before, they have a bunch of wing defenders to throw at him. They're not going to have McDaniels to sort of alleviate any sort of that pressure. So it'll be tough for sure. I think I'm agreeing with you that the Pelicans would have the edge, but I think it's relatively close.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be really close and there's a chance that like Edwards is just the best player in this game. Um,
Yeah,
Pretty high
I
chance
do think that's
actually.
pretty valuable.
Yeah. So we'll
Yeah, I
see.
don't know. I think even though I give the Pelicans the edge, I might, if it came down to it, I might pick the Timberwolves to win one game.
Yeah. For percentage, I'm thinking like 54, 66.
Okay.
Oh wait, my math was totally wrong. 56.
54, 56. Or 50, wait, 54, 46? 50,
54,
is that what you said?
46.
54, 46. Okay.
So 55, 65.
That's true. Hey, sometimes the matchups don't have to add up to 100.
Bro, no,
That's true.
I just had a long day. I'm sorry.
All good.
Yeah,
All right. What do you think, David?
I think it's very interesting. For me, it's like, just because like we've been saying, I guess like in terms of like the overdog, I guess like I guess like this is probably the closest one for, but it's like very interesting. I think about the Wolves win condition, and then like they have to play somebody like Torian Prince for like 40 minutes in a game, um, and yeah, I'm just looking at like the last game. I know that like the Pelicans kind of trolled in their last game, and then I'm just like been kind of looking at their like head-to-head matchups, like, and some of their games like they had Zion, and then obviously in these other games like there's Jaden McDaniels, like Rudy Gobert. But it's like pretty interesting, like in all these games that like even if Rudy Gobert does come back, it seems like he doesn't play like a ton of minutes, and he like this other game like he fouled out. Um, I think just because the Wolves don't have Naz Reid, I think that's the biggest thing for me that says to me that they're not going to win. Um, I think I'm definitely very high on that guy because he's a pretty good shooter. He's also like super athletic, and he also dunks on us for no reason.
Yeah, he always
Um,
pops off against the Dubs.
Yeah, actually becomes Michael Jordan.
yeah, like that guy, like I think because like they don't have that key guy off the bench, and then they have to play Torian Prince for 40 minutes in a game. Like I mean, I guess he has the potential to randomly shoot the lights out, but I think like if he doesn't do that, or if Kyle Anderson doesn't, I guess he has to score like quite a bit as well. On top of that, Anthony Edwards and Cat probably have to drop 30 each, maybe even more to win. It's like asking a lot that like like I said about the previous matchup, like I'm very, very high on these wing defenders on the Pelicans, and I think that like because of that, like I don't think it's very likely that the Wolves are going to take this one. Um, so Anthony, you were saying like what, like 54-46, you think in favor of like the Pelicans over the Wolves?
I said 54-66.
Oh, 54-66. Yes, sir. I think I'm much higher, I think, again, on the Pelicans versus the Wolves. I think it's mostly like I don't think Gobert coming back for that game. Yeah, highly likely he's gonna. Yeah, I think Jaden McDaniels being out, Nasri being out is probably the two biggest blows to their team. And yeah, I just think that also that matchup between it's like funny that I always call Jonas Valanciunas a bot, but like at least that guy like tries to shoot,
He's
and I
actually
think Rudy
pretty
Gobert's
good.
yeah.
Sometimes
he
he's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes
He's
he's good.
always open. So
If Rudy Gobert, like based on what I've seen, this matchup between these two, if he can actually hit some of his shots, Rudy Gobert is not going to play more than 20 minutes. And I think that yeah, for those reasons, like I think that if I were to give it a percentage, I would probably, for me, maybe even give it like 65, like maybe like yeah, 65-35 in favor of the Pelicans in
okay,
my in
okay,
my opinion. Yeah, that's where I would put them right now.
okay, okay. I do think though, if Gobert does come back, I don't think Torian Prince will be playing 40 minutes. It'll probably be Kyle Anderson playing 40 minutes, um, which is relatively more palatable depending on who you ask. But I guess I'll argue the Wolves side because I'm honestly I think I'm gonna pick the Wolves if it
Okay.
comes down to it. I'm gonna
Okay,
pick the
okay.
Wolves, and my argument honestly gets hurt a little bit by the fact that Gobert is coming back because I think that they have a better chance of winning the game with him not playing. Um, I think they would have a better matchup. Their team makes more sense to me with Towns as the center,
Yeah, Towns.
especially against the Pelicans specifically.
Yeah, when Gobert's on the floor, Towns kind of just plays like a shooting guard.
Yeah, he just floats around, he sets screens occasionally, he doesn't really roll to the hoop. We've seen that he's not as effective as a post player as he used to be. He kind of gets bumped easily off his spot, and he likes to just, settle for that turnaround mid-range in the post rather than actually trying to get an easier shot. But I think if they utilize him as that sort of spot up player and involve Valanciunas in the pick and roll in the two-man game with Edwards, and Cat coming up to set the screen. I feel like they could exploit that. Um, but yeah, with Gobert in the mix, it feels a little bit more like there's less for them to exploit on the side of the Pelicans, just because Gobert doesn't really bring much on offense. Um, he'll point up to the sky for a lob and not receive it. Basically once per play, which I mean may or may not be why he's so upset. But yeah, no, I just have supreme confidence that Anthony Edwards is going to perform. He already performed against his team yesterday, so he has that confidence that he already has done it. But I do think he needs to clean up his shot selection. Sometimes his shots are a little bit questionable. He likes to settle for a lot of deep step back threes, tough mid range. I feel like if he tries to get to the hoop, get Valanciunas in foul trouble, use his physicality, then he could put up 40, 50 points in this game.
True.
That's my argument.
Yeah, and exactly. The funny thing is, like, yeah, that can only really happen if, like,
That can't happen if Gobert's in the game.
yeah,
But
that's
the
yeah,
problem with that too is it feels like Mike Conley and Gobert have a nice sort of connection going on. So if Gobert's in the game, then Conley usually plays better. But I don't know. I think Conley's like a pretty versatile player, so he could perform regardless. But I do think I kind of like if I was the Timberwolves, I was thinking about this objectively as a Timberwolves front office person. I would highly consider extending the suspension to 2 games, just for them to have a better chance of winning. Because I honestly think he hurts their chance to win this game.
Wait, the Timberwolves, like, they gave up so much for this player. If they
Yeah, man.
suspend him one more game, they're actually trolling.
I mean, I don't know though. Like it doesn't happen that often that a teammate will throw a punch at another teammate during a game.
That's true.
Obviously, we saw this happen at practice before, but like we haven't seen this happen during a game.
Yeah, I think the worst I've
I
seen
feel
during a game is like LeBron yelling at Mario Chalmers on the bench.
yeah, like making him cry.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like it should be more than 1 game suspension if you ask me, just based on the severity of the incident.
Yeah, I agree. And like if Gobert comes back, like and you gotta play like Kyle Anderson 40 minutes, like what does that look like, right?
Yeah, they're gonna be on the court together. They're gonna be
He might
pissed.
fight again.
Yeah, if they lose, they're gonna fight
Yeah.
again. I would just tell him to stay home. But then I guess in that case, like he wouldn't. I don't know what would happen if they made the playoffs. Like they'd have to bring him back eventually. It'd be kind of
Maybe.
awkward. Like we won this game without you. Now we got to bring you on.
Yeah, it's a toxic situation. Like I would not want to be anywhere near that.
Yeah. Man, I am thinking about like just the rosters. I feel like the Timberwolves need to play their starters like the whole game if they want to win, because their depth is very severely lacking.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, that Nas read is
No, Naz Reid would have been huge in this game, and also against the Lakers. I feel like that Naz Reid, like having Naz Reid and Carl Anthony Towns on the court at the same time, I feel like that was a little bit underexplored as an option for them. I feel like
yeah.
that could have worked. Obviously, the defense is going to be questionable, but they're going to put up a lot of points.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. I didn't think too much about that. I guess it just never aligned really
Yeah.
because Cat's been hurt this whole season, and actually, like, yeah, recently Nasri got hurt. I don't know.
Yeah, and yeah, when Cat was back, like they had already cemented Gobert, and they tried to like get those two to work together. So Naz Reid was only playing like 15 minutes off the bench. It's a weird situation. That team has had an awful year in terms of their expectations.
Yeah.
Like Anthony said, they gave up all their picks for this guy, and also Walker Kessler, who may or may not already be better than Gobert.
Yeah, TBT to when I picked them to be the 2 seed.
Yeah, that's a tough pick. I think I had them as the 5 seed. Ming actually nailed it spot on that. He put them at 8.
Yeah.
But he also had the Mavs as the first seed, so
That's tough.
a little bit tough.
All right. Shall we move on to the remainder of the
All right, yeah.
conference?
I'll just say for that, if that game does happen, my pick will be the Timberwolves, and I have a 51%
Oh, a
certainty.
slight edge, a
A
slight edge. Just
51% certainty. And I only, honestly, if you ask me objectively, I would say that, actually, no, here's what I'll say. Objectively speaking, I think the Pelicans have a 65% chance to win the game. I'm gonna pick the Timberwolves to win, though. That's all I'll
okay,
say.
okay.
I
So
respect that.
you
Based on everything I've said and the way that my brain works, I know the Pelicans will probably win the game. But there's a chance, and I would want to see it happen. So I'm gonna say it.
Okay.
yeah. No, I respect that.
Yeah.
But they might have to pull up Luka Garza off the bench, or actually start him as their starting center.
That's true as the starter. That guy
Oh, he's
actually
actually
Hey, that
kind
guy
popped
of
can
off when
shoot.
good.
saw him at Summer League.
Yeah,
He can actually shoot.
actually has good
Yeah,
moves.
yeah, he can definitely score. I don't know what else he can do.
That's true.
All right.
Alright, so you guys both have the Pelicans in that
Yep.
game.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
We got Lakers
All
7,
right.
leaning towards Pelicans
Yeah, so
8.
Lakers would be 7 in that scenario, and then either Timberwolves or Pelicans as 8.
Yep.
All right. Let's let's book those predictions then, and let's move on. So since we talked about all these play-in teams, we don't know all the playoff matchups yet, so we'll save that for a later date. But let's talk about the teams whose seasons ended a little bit prematurely, teams
Yeah.
that didn't make the play-in, that might have or might not have expected to make it farther. And unfortunately, one of those teams, or fortunately, depending on who you are, is the Dallas Mavericks. I know, David, you have a lot of thoughts on the Mavs, so do you want to start us off?
Yeah. I'm done. So yeah, if you don't know what I think about the Mavs, it's not. I don't like hate the Mavs. I just dislike Luca a lot because although he's a very good player, he's a massive complainer. Um, so I frequently see him complain about calls like many times that he'll like yell at the ref and like he's picked up like how many texts this season? Like I think he got his 16th one rescinded so he could actually like play again. But I think he has like 15 texts this season, which is pretty crazy because I don't think like a lot of players have reached that. Like I think of like other guys who've like around that, like Draymond Green.
It's usually like the
Yeah.
feisty, like pesky defenders.
Definitely not like a star
Yeah.
player to have
Yeah.
reached this sort of level of technical fouls.
Yeah. So I think like when he gives up on a play, when he's yelling at a ref, picks up a tech, and then gives up like an open layup on the other side, that's pretty tilting for me to watch. Like for reference, maybe that kind of behavior affects me extra because so throwback. So if you guys don't know, I played volleyball all 4 years of high school. And then I didn't play like I played like intramurals in college. I didn't play
Mhm.
club or anything, but the only situation where like I was in like a pretty like I had like playoffs when like my senior year of high school or it's either senior year or junior year. But basically like one of our best players um like if you guys are not familiar with like volleyball, like usually like the first touch is like a pass to the setter, and the setter like sets the ball, and then one
Mhm.
of the attackers like spikes that and then tries to score a point off of that. So in case you didn't know what volleyball is, um, there's this one of our best players. He is very good, but he's also has a very big ego. Um, this is in a playoff match, an elimin like a
Okay.
finals match, a playoff
Oh
finals
wow.
match.
Okay.
So our setter sets a ball that's like it's not terrible, but it's not like perfect. Like he's a great setter, like and this guy, he was so mad that the set was not perfect. Instead of hitting the ball, he caught the ball and then we lost that
Oh
point. He refused to
wow.
Oh my
and
god.
seeing that, like this is our finals match, right? And I'm just like, wow, like that's pretty tough.
Yeah, I know that feels like disrespectful to the team
Yeah. This was
and the work you
also
guys put in.
yeah. This was also the same game, by the way, that I for the last point I got set the ball and then I got triple blocked and then we lost the game and then
Oh man.
so that was the same game. I have like
That
PTSD
is
from that
tough,
game.
bro.
Anyways, so I think ever since I saw that, like that's like very, very selfish that like for like one player to just basically give up on a play when it like it's not even over like or close to being over. And when I see this behavior from Luca where he's complaining about a call, picks up a tech, gets up a layup on the other end, that kind of thing. I think for that reason, like I think his complaining and his like antics on the court really leads me to like not like him at all as a player. Or I mean, not as a player, as a person, just like seeing how he like interacts. Just like so. Sorry, that was like a really long backstory to like why I feel
No,
like
no.
this.
I appreciate that. The lore, the Davidson lore.
That is
Yeah,
the
I
lore.
didn't know that story, so that was pretty.
Yeah, no, but I was pretty tilted seeing that thing in like during my volleyball playoff. But then when I see like Luca complaining and like I think it's very selfish to his team, or it can be argued like, oh, Luca doesn't have a team, like all these things, whatever. Like you can say all that, but I think it's just like pretty selfish. Like if you have four other people on the court and you like, kind of just like give up, complain, and like stuff like that. I'm not a big fan. Um, although I think it's funny that they didn't make it. I wasn't like super rooting for them. Like I just thought it'd be like, oh, it'd be like pretty fun, like down if they didn't make. Um,
Yeah.
but I do think it's pretty sad because Luca is definitely like a very good player, and I think he was probably one of the highest scorers this season. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know too much about that, but um, I think I always thought like the trade to pick up Kyrie and give up basically the only defense and Dorian Finney-Smith was always a pretty interesting but a gambling move. I guess I kind of respected, but to see like it kind of backfired and now they're out of the plan is pretty troll to me. But I didn't expect them to not make it at all. Although I don't like this team a lot, like I
Yeah.
feel a little bit bad, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm definitely not like jumping up cheering that they didn't make it. I guess I feel a little bad and a little sad for them, but um, that's my background for why I don't really like the Mavs,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay. I can respect that. I honestly, I'm sort of with you. I don't hate the Mavericks. I don't like the Mavericks necessarily. I kind of like when they make it far in the playoffs because we completely destroyed them last year. So
but also
it was
it
nice.
was nice to see them clap the Suns last year too.
Yeah, exactly. It was good that they took out the Suns for us. Um, although now, I mean, they're not even in the playoff. But the thing that bothered me the most about it was that they still had a chance to make the playoffs and they just decided to give up, which I think is I cannot respect that at all. I can understand they wanted to keep their pick. Um, they wanted to have the highest odds of keeping their pick, but for them to completely give up when the play-in was still in reach was it just felt like a really odd decision. It felt like one that wasn't in the spirit of the game. I mean, obviously a lot of teams are tanking, so I'm not saying they should be punished or anything for this any more than I think like the Spurs deserve to be punished, which I don't think they should be. But it just felt I don't know, it felt like a cop-out sort of move where it also completely went against everything that they were trying to accomplish this season. Like they traded a pick to get Kyrie, they traded young players to try and improve. They traded a pick to get Christian Wood. Obviously to try and improve on their run from last year where they made it to the conference finals, but I guess all in all it was more so a lack of insight as to how much they truly overperformed last year versus their true skill level, which I think is not good enough to make the Western Conference Finals this year, and I guess not even good enough to make the play-in. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit sad that Luca, we won't see him in the play-in or the playoff, but they sort of brought this upon themselves, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you there. It's it's a bummer, and I think a lot of fans are probably super upset at the Mavs for doing this. From like a long-term perspective, it probably makes sense why they decided not to like go for it. Um, but I just think like the trade mid-season, um, I just feel like they had like the wrong idea when it comes to like the roster construction around like how this
Yeah,
team plays. This team is like so heliocentric. Like Luca is like everything in this offense, but the problem is like he doesn't do anything on defense. And like yeah, you need like a secondary like ball handler, right? But you get like diminishing returns when you improve a secondary like playmaker from Spencer Dinwiddie to like Kyrie.
yeah.
Like,
I think
ball like
they
that.
severely underrated how much losing Finney Smith meant to their team, and they
Yeah,
also simultaneously probably overrated how impactful Kyrie could be because they saw what Brunson did last year as the number two
exactly.
guy. They're like, we're missing that guy. We got to bring on someone like him when they already have Dinwiddie, who is obviously not as
Exactly.
good as Brunson, but
He was kind of balling out.
yeah, he played well and he can fulfill that
Yeah,
same role. I think they probably thought like, oh, this team is just a slightly worse team from last year, so there's no way we can make it as far or farther. So they tried to gamble and for the off chance that this might work, but it just felt like they gave up way too much in trying to improve.
yeah. I think they need if you have Luca, you need like 3 and D is most important, and then you need like solid like defense focused bigs who can also like have like some reliable offense. Like you have Christian Wood, who's like not really like that good defensively, and then you have Dwight Powell, who just like doesn't do anything offensively. Like
Yeah,
it just like the personnel doesn't really make sense. And to like David's point about like Luca's character, I feel like I won't go that far in saying like I think like he has like a really bad character or whatever, but I do think like the organization like absolutely spoils him. Like they know that he's like everything to them, so like they'll meet his like every demand, which is why I think he has like this sort of like behavior like on the court. So like he'll like play like out of shape um or he'll like complain about fouls or like he won't play defense, right? It's like very like James Harden-esque, like the Rockets who
yeah,
just like
yeah,
do whatever, right? I think that's kind of why he's gone like this, and like I feel like Luca probably pushed the org to make a move, right? Either Luca pushed them or the Mavs were like secretly like desperate, right? They're like, oh shoot, like if we don't make a move now, then Luca's just gonna leave, right?
yeah. They definitely felt some level of pressure just from having
Yeah,
Luka on the team.
yeah. So I think that sort of like either pressure from Luca or like from themselves, like led them to make like a very poor decision.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think they kind of screwed up like their future just because like they're losing draft picks and then also like Kyrie's a free agent next year. And then now Luka's unhappy too. So
yeah,
kind
he
of
could be
L's all
gone.
around. Kind of sad to see, given how good Luka is. So that's just a bummer. Like
Yeah,
I think this year when the West is wide open, if the Mavs were a good team, that would have been so much fun to watch. So
yeah. I was just thinking like even if they were to make it through the play-in as the eighth seed, I would love to see him play against Jokic. I think it would be a
yeah,
fun series to watch him play against the Grizzlies. There's no reason why they couldn't win that series.
yeah.
It felt weird to me that they just gave up in a year where the top seeds in the West are pretty fragile, it feels like.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. I guess they just like they had no faith.
yeah, I guess they played the percentages, I guess, because they by losing on purpose, they could guarantee that they'd have higher odds of getting the pick versus, rolling the dice with the play-in. Even if they won other games, they might not have made it in with the way OKC was playing.
Yeah,
But yeah, to your point about Luca being spoiled, I feel like he is definitely spoiled by the organization, but he's also kind of just spoiled by the basketball world as a whole because he's been heralded as like this sort of next LeBron level talent ever since he joined the league. This
yeah,
sort of like savant playmaker, scorer. Um, People give him a lot of credit, which I think he deserves a decent amount of credit. But that comparison you made to Harden is interesting because a lot of people will say that Luca has a lot of the same shortcomings as Harden, but is not criticized for them nearly as heavily. A lot of people love Luca and swear by him, like Ming. Ming loves Luca, but then they'll turn around and shit talk James Harden for doing those same things, right? So it feels like like we were saying, like he's putting pressure on the organization to do things, but really he should be the one feeling pressure to improve himself, improve on
yeah,
defense, become a more versatile player, improve his conditioning, stop complaining all the time. If he did all these things, this team would have made the playoffs for sure.
yeah. Like low key, I guess like offensively, he can get better at like shooting threes or like free throws or whatever. But low key, if he didn't improve offensively and he just like improved his defense a little bit, like I think that makes a hell of a lot more of a difference.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Because his defense is so much below his offense that
exactly.
just
Yeah,
him bringing it up a little bit would make a big difference. And also just a change in his attitude. Um,
yeah,
I mean, I agree with David. Like, I feel like the complaining about fouls, even when it's like a player I like complaining about the fouls, I get pissed about it because they're not getting back on defense.
Yeah.
Like, like every single time Tatum complained for a foul last year, like he just stood there like clapping his hands, saying like, "Come on!" And then on the other end, the camera's panning over, they're getting a wide open layup or something. Like, it's so frustrating as a fan, no matter what side you're on. So
Mhm.
he needs
yeah.
to cut that out for sure.
I think like a fun video idea would just be go through like a Mavs game and go through every Luka missed shot and seeing if like how many of the missed shots was he like mad at the ref for a foul.
A case
Yeah, and
study.
how many of those
Like it
led to
might
points?
actually be like 90 to 100%.
It's very frequent, and like I feel like maybe like 20% of the time it just leads to like a wide open shot for the other team.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna write that down. That's a good video idea.
A similar video to how I need to track the how effective saying when you drive to the rim converts to a foul or not.
That's true. All right. I mean, the Mavericks they're a sad bunch. I don't know if I have anything else to say about them, but
Hey, watch
they're
them go on Yama.
they could yeah, they if they're probably the least deserving team to win the lottery, but I think it would be really fun to see Wemby with Luca. That team would be insane. He kind of feels like the exact kind of player that Luca would love playing with.
Instant
Because
title favorite.
yeah, I mean Luca's never really played with an insane rim protector. And then also this guy can shoot threes and do create off the dribble and do crazy stuff. So
Yeah.
it would be a fun spot for him, but they definitely do not deserve it. And if the basketball gods decide that they should get the first pick, then I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'll be a little bit upset is all. All right, let's move on then. And
Yeah.
this team had a very interesting season. Ming and I talked about another team in the Eastern Conference that had kind of a similar view on their season as a whole, and that team was the Pacers. Um, and that I feel like the Pacers they had very low expectations coming into the season. People thought they were just going to tank, bottom out, try and get Wembanyama. But really, they had a very competitive stretch of games with Halliburton leading the way, where they were solidly in the play-in, competing for a playoff spot even. But then they sort of fell out of that race when Halliburton got hurt. They had a lot of young guys who overperformed, played very well, showed a lot of promise, and ultimately they landed outside of the play-in. Same as this team, which is Utah. Right? Utah had that same sort of perception coming into the season. They were going to unload all of their players, all of their veterans, try and bottom out. But really, they showed a lot of promise, and that was mostly led by Lowry Markkinen, who may or may not win Most Improved. I think I would vote for him as my Most Improved. But yeah, they've had an interesting season. You guys have any thoughts on Utah?
Yeah, I mean, I think the clear thing was just how surprising their record was early on. Like I remember at some point they were like the 2 seed, or like somewhere like high up
Yeah,
there.
like very
Uh,
early in the season.
yeah, Laurie looks like a legit star in the making. Honestly, like when he was on the Bulls, I thought he was just like all he can do was like he was like kind of big and then he could shoot a little bit.
Yeah,
To be fair, I didn't really watch much of the Bulls, but like watching some of the Jazz games now, like he's actually just like taking over games. He has like 3 levels of scoring, and it's not just size. He has like a lot of athleticism too. Um, but I think this season for the Jazz was actually like pretty interesting because like after you trade away like your star players, you would expect just to instantly tank. But the fact that like you can start off the season performing really well, and then I guess you end the season like low. But like I think it shows the front office like okay, like the core that they've established has a lot of potential, and you kind of land in that ideal like lottery pick slot. Um, so I think you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get to like develop your players, develop your offense and like kind of understand that the core pieces you have are like very valuable. And then you have a
Yeah.
shot at like a solid pick this draft. So um,
Yeah. And a lot of those players that sort of they were considering letting go of, they played themselves up into maybe being more valuable assets, right? Like Jordan
yeah,
Clarkson, like Mike Conley. These
yep.
guys played well at the start of the season, which led to their their potential trade value going up, right? So
Hmm.
and like you said, they ended up in the lottery. Maybe if they had just traded all those guys early in the season and tried to lose, then they might have ended up with a higher odds of getting the top pick. But ultimately, I don't think that matters as much as
Yeah,
developing your players.
I wouldn't say that's like a better move. I think they like I would consider this even as a 12 seed like a very successful season for the Jazz,
Yep,
considering like how much they lost during the offseason.
for sure.
Yeah. I think definitely like very surprised like I when they like Markkinen when I don't even know how many points he was like what were his stats last year? I don't actually remember.
Yeah, on Cleveland, I think he was maybe averaging like 16 if we're being generous. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember too much about, but then yeah, that leap, like I don't think anyone expected this team to actually like almost make the play in. And I think they with some of these injuries, like I wonder if like they actually like wanted to make the play in or not. But yeah, it's like very interesting because I think that one player that I really liked on the Jazz before they traded him was Jared Vanderbilt.
Hmm.
That guy, I think I have a liking to players who are undersized and play really, really good defense and hustle a lot, even if they're not the most like skilled. Like I don't think Vanderbilt's like a great shooter, and I don't think he's like he doesn't handle the ball like stuff like that. But I think it's like very, very interesting that like this team surprisingly like um until they made like the trades at like the last part, like we didn't really I feel like for me, like I didn't really pay attention to how good Walker Kessler actually is. Like I don't think he only started starting because of the fact that like Vanderbilt and some of those other dudes got shipped away to the Lakers, um, if I remember correctly. But I think that it was interesting because I when they started the season off, like I think it was like 10-1 or something. Do you guys remember like what their record was like very like early on?
I think they might have been like 10-2.
10-2. Yeah, that's like crazy, like way ahead of like some of these like other guys. Um, for me, like I didn't think very highly of Colin Sexton, didn't think very highly of Clarkson. Um, well, I knew that Kelly Olynyk was, you know, labeled as a tank commander usually for like a lot of these other teams. So I guess like he, I mean, that guy can randomly like pop off on like a bad team or whatever. But um,
Come on, man, that's my man. You forgot Kelly Olynyk used to play winning basketball in the Boston Celtics.
yeah, dude, we could have if we got this guy in the Warriors, that'd been crazy. But um, yeah, even these guys like recently, like with all the injuries, like I think Jordan Clarkson had like a finger injury for like a month, and then Colin Sexton was out with like some leg injury for like a pretty long time too. Um, even like some people that I thought were like complete bots, like this like Taylor Horton Tucker guy.
Yeah,
Okay, to be fair,
Oh,
I don't actually know how good this guy is. Um, all I know is like um in the past like month or so, like he's been kind of starting as their point guard, I guess. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, even a guy like Chris Dunn, which he just like has like a job now, and like he came back and he's been playing pretty well.
yeah.
Um, I can't tell if this is some like there's nobody left kind of thing, like somebody has to get the stats kind of basketball, but it's kind of insane to like think of like yeah, I labeled Taylor Horton Tucker as like yeah, THT, this guy is a bot in my head, like when I saw him play for like the Lakers and stuff like that. But to see him like getting like triple doubles, like or close to it at least, and then getting like scoring 30 points in a game, getting like 10 assists in a game, and stuff like that. It's like very
Yeah.
interesting. Like I don't know how good he actually is. Um, I don't.
I mean, he scored 41
yeah, he's
this
pretty
season.
good. He's like
I
a
think.
long arm hacker point
He's
guard.
actually a long arm
Yeah, he's
hacker.
long arm hacker, like 240-pound point guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's hard to really understand how much of this is like, you've been given the keys to do whatever you want, so they look real good, versus like, is this guy really that good if you put him in a situation where, the games matter a little bit more? Um, it's hard to say. I do think a lot of the praise has to go to Will Hardy, the coach, who's done a great job ever since the start of the season. Um, ex-Celtics assistant coach, so he's done an amazing job. If I had a ballot, I would vote for him, maybe as like my third place vote for coach of the year. Um, I think he definitely is helping unleash a lot of these players, in certain ways, especially Markkinen.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I think Horn Tucker is a decent player. I don't think he's as bad as some people thought, he
Mhm.
was maybe a year or two ago. Any other players of note or things of note about this team? I mean, we talked a little bit about Walker Kessler, who emerged as this insane defensive presence, and only as a rookie. So that's pretty unprecedented. I think he will probably finish in the top three of rookie of the year.
Yeah, I remember this guy locked up Sabonis. It was actually kind of crazy to watch.
Yeah, he doesn't play at all like if you watch him play, he doesn't look like a rookie at all. He looks like a veteran in terms of his build and the way he plays.
Very long, very tall.
Yep.
And I think most of the time he doesn't really get into foul trouble. I don't actually know, based on his like
He's
he
pretty good at avoiding fouls, I think.
yeah, which is crazy for somebody who's so good at blocking shots because the example I'm always going to use for this is Jaren Jackson Jr. He
Yep.
he's like averaging like 3 blocks a game. It's crazy. It's like definitely not easy to do. I think that's probably number one. I think.
Yeah, he's definitely number one. He's by far.
Yeah. So that guy definitely like blocks a lot of shots. I don't watch a ton of the Grizzlies, but I also do notice that like this guy, like he can block like 8 shots in a game. He also could block 0 shots because he played 5 minutes because he got 6 fouls. Like that guy is definitely somebody who I think is like he gets a lot of blocks, and then I don't. Yeah, personally, like I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me out with like what you guys think, like how good a defender he actually is. But like I only kind of look at like the box score for the Grizzlies games. I don't watch him too much, but like he's somebody who definitely gets a lot of blocks, but he also gets like a ton of fouls, and then he also like his minutes can range anywhere from 10 minutes to also like 40 minutes. So like that's like really special that Walker Kessler can. It seems like he can stay on the floor for well at least like since like the trade deadline, like since he's been starting. Like I see that he's been playing close to like 30 minutes every single game, which is really crazy for someone who gets like a ton of blocks. So I would, for that reason, I would assume he's pretty good actually at defense and not just somebody who gets a ton of blocks. Like, I don't know, like Hassan Whiteside is one of those guys who got a ton of blocks, was
Yeah.
kind of a bot on defense. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think Jaren Jackson he's a very, very strong defender. And like you said, I think the only thing that holds him back is that he can't stay on the court. Because when he is on the court, he has an insane block percentage. Like he blocks like over 10% of all his shots or something at the rim.
So crazy.
Um,
Yeah, and I wouldn't categorize him like in the same bucket as Hassan Whiteside because I think
definitely not.
yeah, because Hassan Whiteside I feel like was actually just getting blocks and then like he didn't really have like a huge like defensive impact in my opinion. But I think Jaren Jackson like he gets the stats, but he actually like he passes the eye test as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I think
he's very switchable.
yeah, he can move his feet while also having like really good size. So he did yet like I agree with you that he does have the foul trouble issue, but I don't think that hurts or that does hurt him, but like that doesn't affect my opinion of him as like an extremely good defender.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we could talk more at length about this if we ever do an awards podcast on like MVP, DPOY, which I
Yeah.
think we should probably do at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's interesting to note that Jaren Jackson is probably the favorite for that award despite playing much fewer minutes than a lot of the other candidates.
Mm.
Um, that's really the only thing holding him back. All right, let's move on to
The
the
Blazers.
next team, the Trailblazers, who had a very sad season in certain ways.
Yo,
Dame,
Dame gotta leave, bro.
I mean, Dame put up 70. Um,
That's true,
Dame
man.
had maybe his best season ever individually.
Might as well go for
He
80.
just an absurd season from him, but not a lot of consistency from the rest of his teammates, from the rest of the organization, and as a result, they shut him down and tanked their way into actually pretty good odds for a top four pick here. Um, yeah, any sort of thoughts on their season? None of us are really like huge Blazers supporters, but we did have a bet
Mm-hmm.
at the start of the year involving this team
Hey, let him
and
know. Let him know.
and another team that ended up much higher in the standings. And that bet was between it was me and Ant versus Ming and Dsun, I think, right?
Yeah. So since Ming's not
And
here, like I can speak on behalf of what that bet is.
yeah, go
Basically,
ahead.
before the season started, it was a wager between who would place higher, the Kings or the Trailblazers. And so, now looking, I feel very foolish that looking back now, I mean, at the where the Kings are now, where the Trailblazers are, like obviously I chose the Blazers to be higher than the Kings. So I definitely had much higher expectations of what the Blazers were gonna do. I at least thought that they were gonna be a play-in team. So yeah.
Yeah, so interestingly, I was on the side of the Kings on this bet. But if you look at my preseason predictions, um, I put the Blazers as number 10, and then I
Come on, man.
I didn't even put the Kings on the list.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's why that's why I think you forgot that you were on my side.
yeah, I completely forgot that I actually made a separate bet for the Kings.
Damn, dude. If
Um,
only I was 1 versus 3, then I would have made like $60.
That's
yeah,
tough.
but anyways, um I mean, I put Blazers at 10. I didn't really think very highly of them. But I think it's just kind of sad to see. I'm a Spurs fan, as you guys know, and I really appreciate loyalty.
Yeah,
And so I like the fact that Dame is like saying that he wants to stay. Um, I just think in today's game, like the culture has kind of changed. So like people, I feel like general fans appreciate it less, and they appreciate winning in general just a lot more. So um, I just feel bad for him because he gets a lot of hate, and then the front office just can't seem to put the right roster around him. Like they keep making moves, but nothing seems to really help. I mean, I like
yeah,
Anthony Simons. Jeremy Grant's all right. Um, I mean, Yusuf Nurkic has always been just like solid, but I
yeah,
don't know. Like it doesn't their roster like hasn't ever like changed anything. Um,
yeah. I would describe him as physically solid, maybe not his performance as solid,
right,
but
maybe he's more just the right word was mid. Yeah.
yeah, I think if you take the word mid at face value, then I would go even lower than that. But based on most people's perception of the word mid, he is very mid,
Yeah.
which is actually means he's below average.
That's tough.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean
it's just sad.
the the one bright spot I think is Shaden Sharp here. Like he looks
Mm.
like a star in the making. He looks like the kind of guy that you would give up a lot of assets to get potentially. So I think they hit a home run for that pick, but they're gonna need a little bit more magic to happen in the construction of this roster to really put a contender around Dame. They do have the fifth best odds for landing the first pick in this year's draft somehow. I don't know how they ended up tanking that far, but um,
Kind of down.
I think this is an interesting Wembanyama landing spot for sure. Probably the one that I think would be the most entertaining.
I think it'd be or my opinion on that is I think Mavs would be more entertaining, but it's just like the the Dame Wemby timeline doesn't feel like it matches up. Like
Yeah,
I
it
think
doesn't, but like I
uh,
think Wembanyama could be like so good when he comes in the league that it might not matter. Sort of like with Tim Duncan, David Robinson.
That's true. That's true.
Although both of those guys were #1 overall picks, and the Spurs didn't have the highest odds in either of those drafts.
Yeah.
So
Do you think Dame ages as well as Curry does? Like
I
in
think there's
terms
a
of,
chance.
yeah,
I
'cause
think so,
he is
based on what we've
reliant on
seen.
his shot, which is good for when you're getting older.
Yep,
Um, but I wonder, like, I don't know, like Dame does have those moments where like a lot of his drives are more like quick first step type drives.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
I think he's definitely more athletic than Steph Curry.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
has more like explosiveness.
He
yeah.
also
But the
jumps out
question
of the
is
gym.
like, does he rely more on his athleticism? Because that's what like impacts you the most, like when you age. Like how much do you rely on physicality?
Yeah, I would say probably. And he also, and they both get banged up a decent amount, but he kind of relies more on drawing fouls,
Yeah,
which might not be there for him when he's a little bit older.
yeah. And he
Yeah, I
doesn't
don't know.
he
I
doesn't
think
take
he'll
on that
age
alpha
okay.
role.
Yeah, yeah. I think he'll age okay, but like not Stephen Curry. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. The only bright spot for this team season is Dame putting up an insane season, and then Shaden Sharp. And Jeremy Grant overperformed expectations. He had a good start to the season before he basically just didn't play.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd say
Yeah.
Drew Eubanks also overperformed.
oh, Eubanks, yeah, Eubanks showed that he could be a solid backup. I think I'm a little bit disappointed by Simons. Part of that's not really his fault, I think, because the
Mhm.
fit isn't really there between him and Dame.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the same type of player. They want to play in the same way, which doesn't really work.
Yeah. I think when Dame was gone, he played really well, but
Yeah,
together it's kind of tough.
yeah, it doesn't really work in a cohesive way.
Yeah.
I also feel like he was injured for like a good portion of the season as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That whole team feels very injury prone.
Yeah, I
Um,
think like I don't know how many games we actually saw like I feel like a guy's out this day and a guy's out this day and then
yeah,
it was like I
like
don't know, it's kind of tough just like
it's hard to judge their season objectively because Nurk was out for a lot of the first part of the year, then he came back, and by that point Simons was out and Grant was out. All this stuff happened like not at the same time, so we didn't get to see their full roster, but I don't really think they would have performed that much better, even if they were all healthy.
yeah. I will say I was excited to see how Cam Reddish could help this team, but I don't think he's actually been very good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At this point, I think I'm done.
Yeah. I never believed in that guy. I remember seeing the draft report said he was like they compared him to Paul George.
Oh hell no,
Yeah,
that's disrespectful.
yeah,
That is
that's not
disrespectful.
happening.
I
Yeah.
mean, he did have a lot of promise. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I knew he was gonna be a bust, but Paul George though, that's
That's
I don't know about that.
but Matisse Thybulle though, what do you guys think about him? I actually am
Oh,
very
I like Thibault.
happy that this guy plays minutes now.
Yeah, he definitely should have been playing for the Sixers. I guess they didn't see the fit there with him, so they moved him out, which I can respect that. And now he's shown that he's a very, very capable defender and decent shooter. So
Yeah.
at least when he's wide open.
Yeah, I like
All right.
players like Thibault.
Yeah.
They're like really well known just for like their defense. Because like you don't have a lot of that anymore in the league, so
Yeah, guys like him, McDaniels,
yeah,
defensive wing specialists aren't really like as common.
yeah.
All right. Now we're moving into the true the tank teams here.
Garbage
Somehow,
territory.
I don't know how this happened, but Houston won 3 of their last 3 games, and they ended up above the San Antonio Spurs, who they'd been pretty much below the whole season,
Yep.
considering that neither of these teams won very many games. But honestly, out of every single team in the league, I probably watched the least Houston. Actually, no, it's probably a tie between them and Charlotte. Um, I actually watched an okay amount of Piston just because I wanted to see James Wiseman.
Oh,
But But yeah, I did not watch very much of this team, and when I did watch, it was very tough to watch. I'll just say I'm not surprised that they let go of their coach, especially after what he said about not drawing up plays for for one of their premier young players.
Jabari Smith.
Yeah.
He's pretty
Um,
good, but
yeah, we don't draw any plays for him though, ever. Never. Not once. Never even thought about it. But yeah, I guess it's interesting to think about this team has a lot of young players, a ton of young players, some of which have a decent amount of talent and promise, but no one who you'd say is really sort of like a cornerstone for your franchise, like a
Sengun?
franchise player.
Sengun?
You think Shengun could be the best player on your team in a championship team,
Okay, so
or even like a top two player? I don't think he's
yeah, so not
at that level.
franchise player, but like
He's probably their
Sengun,
most promising
yeah,
young player
Sengun is a player you want to keep.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's not really that that doesn't instill that much confidence in me when there's only one guy on the team that you really want to
Yeah.
keep. But it's interesting to think about because Jalen Green obviously has a lot of hype around him. He didn't really improve very much. He showed some flashes, but
He's kind of
I've seen a lot of
one-dimensional.
discourse.
Like,
Yeah, he's pretty one-dimensional, not really a playmaker, just likes to chuck it up.
much
But
like
I've seen
all
a
the
lot
other
of
guys.
discourse. Yep, there's a lot of those guys. I've seen a lot of discourse about comparing his value versus Shaden Sharp's value. And I've seen a lot of people say that they would take Shaden Sharp over Jalen Green at this point, just in a straight up. And that feels like that feels to me it's a kind of sad for Jalen Green because like maybe like a year ago people were saying like this guy is gonna be he could be the best player on championship team level type of player or like second best player at least. But yeah, do you guys have a preference between those two?
I mean, I don't watch enough Shaden Sharp to have like a strong opinion on this, but I think like with enough sample size, sometimes you can see like an offensively very like prolific player. Like you start to have like judgments on them as to like are these just like empty stats that they're putting up? Like can are they just like really good at scoring, but they don't impact like winning in a certain way? Or like maybe they're scoring a lot, but they're not doing it efficiently. So I think if people are starting to have those comparisons and they're leaning towards Sharp, like that could be why. Because like Jalen Green, like if you look at like his moves and you look at like his actual game, like it's really good. Like
Yeah.
he has like he has every move you would need, plus the athleticism, plus the like distance shooting. Um, but I guess it's like not necessarily like translating, or it's like not efficient enough, or he's not, getting his teammates involved enough. So, I mean, that is an area that he could improve. But I guess you don't always see that improvement from players like this. So, um,
Yeah, I'm thinking it's more of a case of because Shaden Sharp doesn't have those qualities yet either, right? He's
yeah,
not a playmaker. He's not a particularly efficient shooter. Um, it's just that we've seen more of Jalen Green.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like we would expect him to have made maybe a bigger improvement from last season to this season is all.
yeah. I mean, he has like the ultimate green light, right? Like literally,
Yeah, yeah.
literally no one is
Shooting like
gonna
30
score.
times a game.
Yeah,
And he did have some good games. But not anywhere to the level of consistency where you could say that he's like gonna be a star player for sure.
yeah. I mean, I barely follow the Rockets this year, and like the one thing that I really watched was like this one Eric Gordon interview where
Oh yeah.
he asked him like, "Oh yeah, like what improvement have you seen this year from the young guys or something like that?" And Eric Gordon's just like, "There's no improvement." And like that's
Yeah,
all he
That's
said.
straight
so
face.
funny.
Yeah, and then he gets traded right after. So like I have been hearing things like, okay, like the young guys get the ultimate green light, but like it's kind of not necessarily the best culture because usually, you want to like you want to have like rules or like some sort of restraints or
Yeah.
like have like veteran presence on the team rather than just like letting young guys do whatever they want. Um,
Yeah, it's not a good sign when your vet
yeah,
is just saying that your team did not improve at all,
yeah.
which is not true, by the way. Jabari Smith has improved a lot.
Oh, he was just hella pissed. He's just done.
Yeah,
The guy's been on the
yeah,
trading
completely
block forever.
false.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that guy was still even in Houston. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much good to say about this team. I do like Şengün. He's had some really good games.
Yeah,
But other than that, I mean, I do like Tari Eason. I think
yeah.
he's a promising player.
I was gonna mention him if you guys were gonna.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on my radar for a while. Because he had a really good summer league. I think I drafted him in our fantasy league.
Oh shit.
But uh, but yeah, he's had a good rookie season. Pretty good.
He's my favorite kind of player. He's a hustle player, grabs a ton of rebounds.
Yeah, very, very, very high energy player. The one interesting thing about him, I heard this on, I want to say it was on Zach Lowe's podcast, where there was some scout that was saying the main thing that people had against Tari Eason in terms of evaluating him as a player was that he couldn't remember plays. Like sometimes he would just be out there and not know what the play was. But I feel like he's fixed that a little bit. But he does kind of play with that sort of chaotic energy where it's like he'll do something no matter what, and he'll try and like disrupt the flow of the game with his
Yeah.
energy.
I feel like that's also a thing that's not that hard to fix.
Yeah, yeah. Unless it's like actual, you have an actual deficiency in your memory or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Just run out and
Yeah, just just play like you're playing 2K.
just like, what are we doing
Just
again?
run around and like go reach for everything. All right. I don't want to talk about Houston anymore. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the Spurs since we have a Spurs fan
All
here.
right.
I watched a decent amount of Spurs this year, I must say, despite how bad they are.
So
Um,
so let me preface this by saying I started off the season extremely excited for Josh Primo.
oh no.
That's tough.
Yeah. I actually was one of the few people that had like a lot of belief in his development. Um, I
I
mean,
think he showed a lot of flashes
yeah,
during summer league
he had flashes in
and last
summer
season.
league, and then also if you look at his body, he like really built it. Like he looked big. He had a baby face,
Hmm.
but like he actually gained a lot of muscle too. So I was like really excited for what he could show, and then um, yeah, he ended up showing something else. So
Oh
I
Oh
no.
was
no.
unlucky.
Oh man.
That's
Oh
tough.
man. Blame it on the shorts.
The shorts.
Yeah, but in terms of like our roster right now, one, I really like Keldon. I wish like Keldon's ceiling is like not that high though because
Hmm.
he doesn't have the best like create your own shot type of game. Like he's more of like slasher slash like um he's really strong at driving and he can like hit contested threes, but he doesn't really break you down off the dribble like that. So I do like Keldon a lot, but there's a lot to there's like a limit to how good he can be, I think. Um, in terms of like our rookies, um, I like Sohan a lot. I know you like him a lot too, Kevin. Um, Malachi is solid. Definitely like 3 and D type player. Blake Wesley is like a little too out of control for me. Um, I like how aggressive he is, but a lot of the times, like his drives, like he'll, I feel like he just has like a very low percentage of like actually like finishing. Like he's pretty inefficient. So if he can clean that up, that'd be nice. But overall, I think I liked our picks, and we have some like we have some like nice pieces, but it's kind of weird because I'm super happy we landed in the 15th spot, but with our current roster, even if we add Wemby, it's like I don't I don't think I can immediately say like, oh shit, we're like hella good. Um, I think there's a lot more development that's needed from this roster in order to get to that level. Um, but yeah, I had a fun time watching the Spurs this season for sure.
Yeah, no, same. I love watching Sohan. He It's interesting the way my initial perception of him as a player was that like he had like no offense basically, other than like being able to pass, and then he was played good defense and get rebounds. But he really improved his offense over the course of the year, starting with his free throw shooting, form changing.
It's the one hand man.
Um, yeah, I mean it really worked. His 3-point shooting improved. His overall playmaking level improved. I think he's the kind of piece that you really want on a winning team going forward, as like maybe your third or fourth guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like Keldon sort of fits that mold too, where you could see him contributing on a very good team as like that third option maybe, but not really the type of guy as your number one option
Yeah.
that you want.
If we have Wemby,
Um,
we don't have a guy who's like a two option. We have a lot of
yeah, it
three.
feels like you're missing that like yeah that number two option, but with Wemby, at least, you get the hardest part out of the way, right? You would get the number one guy who's also very impactful on
Yeah,
defense,
yeah.
or even someone like Scoot or Brandon Miller could fulfill that role possibly too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much to say about San Antonio. They're fun to watch, occasionally not very fun to watch, depending on who's playing. But
I
yeah,
mean, Zach Collins was he'd randomly have good games, but I'm not a huge fan. You guys have any thoughts on Zach Collins?
I guess about. No, I think
yeah, I don't know. I do remember like he got dunked on by MPJ and they started to fight
Oh
and then they
yeah.
both got ejected. The classic 1-for-1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of
I don't know.
players
I don't like that guy.
that have no future with us, I think. And I put Zach Collins on that
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, like Zach Collins, Gorgie, Dieng.
Yeah.
I
It's the
don't know, like Bates Diop. McDermott could have a role on a good team,
yeah.
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Not too many like really good pieces that you want, but like a couple of guys who are pretty solid, like Devin Vassell.
Yeah, I would want like Trey
Um,
Jones too.
yeah, Trey Jones is solid. Not as good as his brother, but
Yeah.
pretty solid. All
David,
right.
did you watch the Spurs
Any
game this
last
year?
thoughts? We watched a couple Spurs games on Discord.
Nice.
only when they were playing like some teams that we actually heard about.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of the season, they were rolling out like Sandro Mamukelashvili starting center,
That's my guy.
Oh, I still can't say the name.
and like some guys who I've never heard of. So that's a lot because I know most players.
That's
So
true. They got my guy Devonte Graham, who's chucking it up.
that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. They got him in exchange for Josh Richardson. Man,
Yeah,
this team
our
is
roster is so whack.
this team is a mess, but also like none of these guys are here for very long. So
Yeah, and we have
this
a
team
ton of picks.
will look completely different.
Yeah.
All right, well that wraps up the Western Conference. Anything we forgot to hit on that you guys want to talk about?
No, I think that was pretty comprehensive, and I'm pretty excited now for one, talking about like the actual playoffs, and then two, um, when draft time comes around for all these teams getting like
Oh,
picks, like that conversation is gonna be really fun.
I'm actually like I mean I'm usually very excited for the draft, but this year's draft lottery has got me
Yes,
very excited
yes, that is must
just
watch.
because the first pick here, whoever gets it is is in for a treat. They just got gifted a literal god of basketball.
Actually crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like we talked a little bit about where we'd like to see him land, but the Spurs have pretty good odds. So
Yeah. I have to buy that jersey early.
yeah, as soon as the lottery ends,
I might have to
you
get
know where he's going.
scout some basketball packs and try to get his rookie card right now
Oh shit.
when it comes up.
If you get it immediately,
Wait, that would be
it
Might
might
so
you
good.
might be able to get a deal.
might be some generational wealth right there.
Wait, yeah, actually, I might have to buy a couple packs after the or once those cards come out.
Yeah. I was thinking since we already have our bet with Ming, and we could add Dsun on for the playoffs, and then bet some basketball packs instead of a jersey.
Oh, okay, I'd like that because it's like
That's tough.
I guess jersey's cool, but like the packs have some extra entertainment value.
Yeah, we can open them up in like a video.
Yeah, no, that sounds really cool actually because we all live pretty close anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have our running tally from our 3 preseason predictions, and then we'll add on play-in playoff predictions for
Oh,
packs.
okay, so that's a separate bet then.
Yeah, that'll be separate. We're still doing our jersey.
Okay, how many packs are we talking here though?
I don't know. I was just thinking like the $20-$30 thing on NBA.com.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh yeah, the packs. Yeah.
Yeah, how many packs is that? Like a couple packs?
Well, the one I bought, or at least the one that I got. Well, it depends on what the brand is, but I got how many packs are in here? 6 packs.
Okay, that's pretty
15
good.
cards. So I had 90 cards total actually.
All right. All right, bet, as the kids say.
All right.
All right, I guess that wraps up this episode. Thanks for listening if you made it this far, and tune in for our next episode where we'll be talking about the actual playoffs once all the matchups are set.
Yeah, and watch our other videos too.
Yeah, definitely check out our other videos.